I'd like to call to order the May 28, 24 meeting of the Code Enforcement and Nuisance Board. Roll call.
Earbone.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Harmon.
Oh, here, sorry.
Harmon. And Holman.
Here.
All right. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at our April 23rd meeting minutes. If so, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Dearbone, Gonzalez. Roll call, sorry.
Earbone.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes.
Holman.
Yes.
If the staff will stand up to be sworn in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, thank you. We will now move into our hearing agenda. Madam Clerk.
Agenda item 2024-22 is a appeal to a parking citation number BG-125855, which was a citation fine of $50. The citation was issued at the location of 429 10th Avenue East. The respondent is Brian Nash, and he is present this afternoon with his attorney to address the board. The Bowling Green Police Officer Jamison McFall will present his case.
Officer McFall. Go right ahead. Raise your microphone up as well.
I responded to a call of an illegally parked vehicle on East 10th. Caller advised that it was a Fountain Square towing truck that was parked in a handicap spot. I arrived and located the vehicle and issued a parking citation.
Else to add with that, or is
There was no indication that the truck should have been allowed to park in a handicap spot.
Mr. Nash or Ms. Simpson, are you acting on behalf? All right.
For allowing us to appear here. If that's the only testimony of the officer, I would move what we would call for a directed verdict of acquittal. I don't think he's established at this point that there was a handicap parking space there. But I'm prepared to cross-examine him if the board thinks that we should go forward. But he hasn't established that it was a handicap parking spot.
This may be for Officer McFall. That sign that's right there, is that a handicap sign? That white sign is right there?
That is correct.
Okay. And is that the only handicap spot that's out in front of the building?
I'm not sure if that's the only spot, but that was the one that the caller was referring to.
I guess what I'm meaning, it couldn't have been for the one that's where that greenish car is at, correct?
It appeared to be for the one where Fountain Square Towing is parked at.
Anybody else on the?
Were there any indications on a pavement ground? Was the sign the only indication?
I didn't look under the truck, but that was the only sign that I saw.
I don't think that it's been established that there is a handicap parking space there. We submitted exhibits with our appeal that shows that there is a painted handicap, the universal symbol for that, in the parking place in front of where the red truck is parked. And if you look at those photographs, you'll also see that there's a cutaway for a wheelchair. It's one of those little sloped areas where you can roll a wheelchair out right next to where that green car is parked. We also submitted photographs showing the handicap placard in the green car on the day in question. You'll also notice, if you change the angles of those photographs, the area where Mr. Nash was parked is white, not blue, which would be indicative of a handicap parking place. So I don't think it's been established. I'm prepared to cross-examine the officer if it's determined that we should continue to go forward, but I would move to dismiss the citation at this point.
So Chair Dearborn, that's a somewhat unusual request for this board. I'm happy to give you my legal thought on that as your attorney. This is a quasi judicial proceeding, and your role here, the request that Mr. Simpson's making is really one that you would see in front of a court of law, not necessarily a board such as yours. Your role here is to hear from the officer, which you have. Mr. Simpson is right that I think any basic procedural due process would afford him to ask some questions of the officer, which is what he's indicating he's intended to do. But the request that's before you now is his invitation for you all to basically rule upon this summarily based upon an argument that he's made that the officer's presentation is for some reason deficient. I would submit to you probably the best course of action is to let Mr. Simpson put on whatever he wants to present to you, as you normally would any appellant in this circumstance, and then also if he has some questions of the officer, that would be appropriate too. And at the end of the matter, as you routinely do, you will decide whether the proof that's been presented on either on the part of the officer or the appellant is enough to carry weight with you individually. So the request is something I know you don't normally hear, and it's in the ordinance and in the basically what creates this board is not really contemplated as such.
Simpson, if you want to proceed and.
Sure, if I may, thank you. Officer McFall, you issued this citation, parking violation notice number 125855. Do you have a copy of that with you?
I do not. I believe I gave a copy to our records division.
May I approach the witness and hand this to him? What is the section that is checked there for a violation?
Handicap parking violation.
What section of the Bowling Green Code of Ordinances?
It is section M,
Section M?
correct? Or BG ordinance 22-404.
Okay, and I'm going to show you 404. Give me a second here. Starts right here. Assume you don't have this in front of you either. How did you know that that was to cite him under? How did you know? Just because the pre-printed?
That would be correct.
Okay. If you'll start right here, this is 22-4.04, and it goes over to, let's see, I'm reading upside down. There's 407. There's 406. So it's just this short little section, starting right here, it ends right here. Tell me where in there it talks about handicapped vehicles. Starts right there.
You want me to read the?
I just want you to review it and tell me if any of the section of 22-4.04 actually says anything about handicapped vehicles.
Under the sections that you pointed out, I'm not locating anything in regards to handicap parking.
When you got this phone call, who did the call come in from?
I don't recall the name.
You recorded at dispatch?
Would probably be mentioned in
At least the
dispatch.
phone number would be in CAD?
More than likely.
Okay, and the CAD is computer-aided dispatch, correct?
Correct.
All right, so did you call the number that was on the truck and try to find out why it was parked there?
I did not.
Why?
Parked illegally.
Okay, did you call dispatch or a supervisor and speak with anyone else, or did you just make this decision on your own?
I did not speak with a supervisor or dispatch.
Did you call the city attorney's office?
I did not.
Okay. Is there a registry of handicap parking spaces in the city of Bowling Green to the best of your knowledge?
And that I've been made aware of.
Did you contact the Public Works Director?
I did not.
Okay. So we were looking at photographs earlier. Would you agree with me, and I know you all may have these, and I apologize for being very analog here, but this photograph right here shows white paint on the sidewalk next to... It's got white paint on the curb next to the truck, correct?
Appears to be correct.
And when you see a handicap parking space just about anywhere in this area, there are usually blue lines associated with a handicap space, correct?
Say that would be the general rule.
Okay. And did you ever think to look underneath the green car that was parked in front of Mr. Nash?
I did not. No one called in regards to that car.
Okay. Are you aware that painted on the pavement beneath the green car is a symbol, and can you all locate, I'm not sure who's controlling the laptop. Yes, that'd be great. You see the video there? See the painted?
My vehicle was parked in this space. No handicap marking on the pavement. Here is the sign. Just past the sign is the actual handicap space. This is the space that people park in every day when they have a handicap placard or plate. This is the space that people park in every day where they do not, but where when I was parked there, I was cited for a handicap violation. Here's the back of the sign. Here is the front of the sign indicating that that is the handicap parking space, not this space.
Thank you. So you see the cutout in the pavement right there too? They've taken it down, but the cutout just past the sign there where a handicap, someone couldn't pick their feet up very high or they were in a wheelchair, they would be able to access the street?
I can see it.
Okay. So you now know that there is something painted on the street. Will you agree with me that much?
I agree.
Okay, all right. Let me show you a photograph of what's right up the street up here. In front of, I guess this is City Annex. You familiar with the downtown area? What section of town do you work?
It's District 30.
Where is that?
That would be the west side of town.
Okay, but you're up and down through here all the time.
Correct.
Where is that sign located in that photograph?
Looks like it's on College Street,
In front of the
Jason.
City Annex? Just in
Correct.
this next little section right here?
That'd be correct.
All right, and where is the handicap space there?
Appears to be in line with the starting of this space.
In front of the sign, correct, on the, after you pass the sign?
Well, I mean,
'Cause
it
this
looks,
is the parking lot over here.
it looks like it
This
would
turn
be,
is the parking lot to go to the back of City Hall.
right. But it looks to be that this handicap sign would be representing this space.
And that space just happens to be forward of that sign, correct?
I would say it looks to be lined up with this line here or relatively close. But yeah, it would be,
Right. The back of the parking space starts where the sign is, because that's where the pole is.
correct?
I mean, they're not gonna replace a pole and put a sign on it, so this sign indicates that the parking space is in front, correct? And it has yellow paint, correct?
Correct.
If this is not already an exhibit, I would like to make this an exhibit. And you can. Officer, let me show you another photograph. This is the parking place where the green car was, correct?
I believe so.
What is this red thing here? We probably all know what that is, but what is that?
It'd be an access for anybody with a wheelchair, probably to get on the sidewalk.
And also for, I think, it's the red raised thing.
For
for
blind.
For blind people, correct? So they know that they're getting ready to enter a roadway.
Correct.
So this is a second handicap feature right in front of the old courthouse there, correct? Within probably 10 feet, we could probably look out the window. Agreed?
Agreed.
All right. Was there a symbol painted on the ground where Mr. Nash's vehicle was parked?
I didn't look under his truck, but I didn't locate anything.
Video, there's not, correct? You would agree?
I would agree.
So how does one know if it's the sign or the thing that's painted on the ground? What would tell a citizen, don't park here?
I think it would have to just depend on the circumstances, but any sort of signage should be sufficient.
Parking only is the only thing it says, right? And it's got the handicap universal sign or symbol. Does it say park in front of this or park behind it? How does a citizen know if it's in front, since there's something painted on the ground, or it's behind the sign? How do we know?
I can't speak on behalf of other motorists or anybody looking for a parking space, but if I were to see that, I would believe that would be a handicap-only parking.
Okay. So you would agree with me that there's no way for someone who is not, if you read that sign, there's no way to tell, just based on the sign, if it's after the sign or before the sign?
I would say that it's more than likely the parking spot that it's next to, if it were.
Next to
me.
both of them. And one of them has the symbol painted on the ground, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you don't know if there's a registry of any of the handicap parking spaces in Bowling Green?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. You don't know where I could find that or where this body could find it?
Can't say.
So the handicap sign right up here, which is probably 75 yards, maybe 100 yards from that sign, the parking space over here, it's in front of the sign, and the parking place over here, it's behind the sign. Correct?
Based on the examples that you provided.
Well, you tell me where I'm wrong.
I don't disagree with
Okay.
what you provided.
I don't have any other questions.
Anybody on the board have any for anybody?
Well, I just wanted, on the video, it shows the spot where there's a wheelchair on the ground, but there's no blue paint on the curb that I see, so that's not going to be probably true in all cases, right? There's no blue curb in the video, right?
I'm not commenting on that. I did want to let you know that there are two individuals here from the city engineering department as well, from Public Works. So if you had any questions about signage or that sort of thing, they'd be able to answer those.
Yes, absolutely. If somebody, a little clarification swear you in real quick. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And if you'll state your name and position.
I'm Melissa Kanzler, City Engineer for the City of Bowling Green. I was asked just to kind of briefly explain what we go by for signing or marking, whether it's streets or parking spots. The Code of Ordinance allows the Public Works Director or designee to designate spots per the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. It's a federal manual. Many cities use it. We fall back on that. So from that manual is kind of how we decide what a sign should look like, so that they're standard, so that people get used to what, you know, they see. We try to be as standard as possible with other communities. In this case in particular, I can't comment on all the cases across the city, but in this case in particular, handicap signs, that's a regulatory sign. It is what is enforceable. Painting, whether it be a marking on the ground or a painted curb, are purely an accessory. I mean, you can add that to make more emphasis. That is not the end-all be-all. The sign is the regulatory device. So with the sign in that position, that was actually in place as far back as I could tell from 2013. That was the handicap parking spot in front of the courthouse, and the only one at that time, and it was in the same place right beside the spot. So the intent for our folks who probably signed that years ago, I can't say when that happened, you know, they signed that spot that it was adjacent to. It's not on one end or the other, it's kind of beside the spot. But we go by signing is the regulatory, the enforceable. You know, we don't like to put a lot of signs places, so we use a lot of yellow curb to try to deter it. But striping, markings, paint are all just kind of supplement what's already there.
So if I'm correct, so that means there technically are two handicap spots, the one that has the marking on the ground and then the one that has the sign, or so the two spots.
The intent was, as I understand it,
May I object? She's testifying about what somebody else had intended.
Well, actually, I need a clarification from her on that
Well,
statement.
let me just, if I might, the rules of evidence do not technically apply. I mean, this is not we're not going to get into every rule of evidence, and this is not that type of body. That being said, I think Mr. Simpson can point out in his argument whatever he thinks he wants to point out about anyone's testimony. I think that's the proper way to handle that before this body. Or through argument. If you feel like a witness has taken liberties, that's certainly something you can point out.
Let me hear her answer first before you go ahead.
I did find out that the church at the corner had requested additional handicap parking spots. Our operations division installed that new ramp. If you look closely, there's a ramp there before that parking spot was added. It still exists. But because they added that second one, which has the marking on the ground, they had to put a new handicap ramp in front of that. So your ramp wasn't leading someone into a parked car. So the intention, yes, is for that to be another handicap spot. That's how we, Public Works, see it.
In Public Works, you view that as two spots, two
Yes.
handicap spots.
Yes. If you go merely by the code that is adopted by city code, MUTCD standard, the signage is what is enforceable.
Simpson, did you have something?
If I could ask a couple of questions of Ms. Kanzler. Ms. Kanzler, and I can move over if you want me to. Where did you get the information you just provided? Who told you that?
The fact that the sign is
Who told you that the church asked for an extra?
that, Greg Meredith, the former Public Works Director.
He told you that. When did he
Yes.
tell you that?
He provided an email back, I guess, from his records from he was here, from, I want to say 2017 is when all that kind of took
When did he
place.
provide you that email?
A couple weeks ago,
After we filed the appeal?
possibly. I was asked to try to find out what
Who asked
was
you?
intended.
Who asked you to do that?
City attorney,
Okay.
yes.
So when they added the new parking space, the new handicap, and they put in the ramp with the red raised stuff. I'm sure it has a technical name.
Right.
When they added that, they being the city, they painted the handicap placard onto the ground, correct?
I did not see them do that, but that would be my understanding.
Okay. And then if we could pull the photograph back up of the painted curb. Is there one that's closer? You can pause that. Have you been up there and looked at this since this all started?
Not closely.
You know, it's painted yellow underneath that white,
It
right?
was probably painted white to allow parking again, where at one point in time it was yellow to not allow parking.
Right. And
we-
so white means parking's allowed.
Yes,
And the handicap thing on the ground means it's only for handicap.
yes. But the sign is for this space as.
Where does it
because
say it on the sign?
It just is adjacent to that space, so that is how I interpret that.
Well, I understand that I know where it is, and there it is. But there's the white. But on the sign, it just says parking only. It doesn't say on the other side or this side, and that is sort of different than the one that's right up here.
And I understand.
So how does the public know which side of the sign to park on, other than on where you have the painting on the ground that shows the handicap, the wheelchair?
I agree with the officer here.
It's-
I would
there's no-
assume that it's the parking spot that you're pulled up beside the sign, and err to caution and probably not park there.
Well, this sign, unlike the one up behind us here, is not it's not at the front of the parking space. So
And
the sign itself doesn't say where to park, it just says.
And they typically would not say where to park. They're typically,
Does the city-
adjacent.
Does the city use blue paint?
we haven't in recent years.
And I realize there's a lot going on in the city, not everything gets marked.
Yeah,
I'm not here to
it is.
criticize the
It's fine.
city, but blue paint is the universal paint color on a curb for a handicap space, right?
And you can use that to supplement a sign.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Is there any list of where all the handicap spaces are in the downtown area?
Not to my recollection.
And that would be in your department, right?
It would be.
Yeah. So the city Public Works Director doesn't have like a list of all of the city designated handicap parking spaces?
No.
So someone from the church on the corner up there asked for their services that there's an extra handicap parking space. When did the city add that parking space? The one that has the painting on the ground?
That was the one that I was referring to.
When was that done?
That was sometime 2017. It was prior to 2018, I know, because Street View shows that spot in place.
And when you're saying that the parking space that Mr. Nash was in was designated with yellow as the handicap parking space, correct?
It was, I don't recall it being yellow, but it was signed how it is today as far back as 2013, from what I can tell.
Okay. And so do you know when the white was painted over the yellow?
I do not.
Would there be records to show that?
Only probably knowledge of, let's see if I've got some pictures.
No?
It would have
Okay.
been pre-2013.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Simpson's indicating he has another motion for the board, so I don't know what that might be, but typically where we're at, I believe would be his opportunity to present any other information he wants to on behalf of the appellant. But if he has a motion, then I'd suggest you hear what it is.
And I'm assuming, I'm making the statement based upon the fact, I assume that the city is done with their proof. There are no more witnesses.
It's a little different.
Understand.
You and I are much more used to a typically more adversarial nature where someone would prosecute this. In this case, there has been obviously a citation, a fine issued. Mr. Nash is the appellant. You're on his behalf. My understanding, though, that at this stage, the officers testified. I believe Ms. Kanzer provided some background information from signage, so I would assume your assumption is correct.
Okay.
I think it's safe to say we're ready to hear that.
All right, so, again, you've heard everything that the city's got to offer at this point, and they haven't proven that that is a handicap parking space. In fact, the paint on the ground says differently, both in the one that we all acknowledge that's got the handicap symbol painted on the pavement, and then there's the difference in signs within half a block of each other. I don't know how, even the officer said, I don't know how you're supposed to tell other than I just assumed it was. But the law requires notice to someone. You have to know, if you pull up and do something, obviously, if there's a law that says you can't park here, or there's a sign that says you can't park in the space you're in, you're not on notice. And I don't think he can be cited for something that no reasonable person would know. Do I park in front? Do I park in back? There's no way to know that. And so I would ask you, again, summarily, as Mr. Davenport mentioned earlier, to dismiss the citation. If not, I'm prepared to put on Mr. Nash as a witness. I assume that would require a motion and a second, but I don't know.
It would, but typically this board would entertain a motion when the entire presentation's been afforded to you. Again, he's inviting you to dismiss this. I can't tell you as your attorney that you can't do that anytime you want to. But if you want to entertain whatever he has and you want to make a motion based upon the entire record, that would be the right time to do it. Whatever that motion is.
What we have so far is the officer reviewed it as illegally parked. City engineer's offices says the sign is the guiding factor, not the paint, right? That's what we have before us, is those two facts. Okay.
You have a motion? Were you planning to make
I
a
was
motion?
just
Okay.
making that
Okay.
comment.
Okay.
Because he said it's not been
Gotcha.
proven, but it looks like, to me, it has been.
Gotcha. Is anybody prepared to make a motion? Do we want to hear from Mr. Nash?
I'll make a motion that we uphold the citation.
Yeah, so his request is one side of the coin. I do think he should be afforded, and the harm in making the motion that Mr. Simpson did it before this body is you may get a motion you're not happy with. He wasn't asking for that motion, and frankly, I think, Mr. Holman, the best course of action is let the appellant have his say. He's invited you all to dismiss this summarily without his say, although I think at this point you anticipate what some of the says is, because Mr. Simpson's been arguing things as we go. But I think that would be the prudent course of action. Before anyone makes a motion, I think you should do that.
I'd like to call Mr. Nash as a witness.
Absolutely. Swear you in, Mr. Nash. In front of the microphone, sir. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Sir.
All right.
State your name.
Brian Nash.
Do you live here in Bowling Green?
I do.
People call you Slim.
They do.
Do you mind if I call you that?
I don't mind at all.
All right, Slim. What do you do these days for your employment and income?
I do a number of different things, but my primary source of income is Fountain Square Towing and Parking Lot Management.
And is that your Fountain Square truck right there in this picture?
Indeed it is.
All right. What is part of your work for Fountain Square parking lot enforcement?
Yes.
And is that done at the request of the landowners who have contracted with you?
Yes.
And they've requested, I guess, that you tow vehicles that are there either without a permit or without paying, correct?
Yes.
there's several other aspects to it, including issuing permits and such things, but
Patrolling the lots.
patrolling the lots, looking for permits, determining, we issue permits to people who come to the office, depending on what property and such. But in the end, if a vehicle is parked on a parking lot without a permit or without permission or without payment, then my company tows that vehicle.
And is that at your request or the request of the landowners?
Landowner.
Okay. Are you required by the Bowling Green Code of Ordinances in your line of work to post signs and provide signage?
Yes.
And would you give the board some idea of the type of signage that you have to post before you tow a car or take any enforcement action?
It's found in 15-7, I believe, .04. The ordinance gets down to what size the sign must be, including what the sign must say, where the person can go. Is it done 24 hours? Is the parking condition in effect 24 hours a day? It has a lot of information that's on the sign.
And what is the main purpose of those signs?
To make sure that people that are pulling onto the lot know where they can and cannot park.
They have to be clearly marked.
Yes,
Okay. And the city requires that.
yes,
Okay. So is it fair to say that you're pretty attuned to where you can and can't park?
yes.
All right. The day that you were parked at this location, where were you while your truck was being ticketed?
I was inside the clerk's office.
Okay, the county clerk?
Yes.
Okay. And how long were you inside?
That day maybe less than an hour.
Okay, and you came back out and found the ticket?
Somebody came in and was laughing and announced in the clerk's office that a Fountain Square towing truck was getting a ticket.
Okay.
So I walked outside and there was a police car that was pulling away.
Okay.
And I saw the ticket on the window.
Never able to talk to the officer?
No.
Okay. As a part of your line of work, and I guess being a former city official, are you familiar with the handicap parking signage that the city uses?
Yes.
And does it have any special meaning to you personally?
I tread carefully here, but I have a disabled daughter. And so the use of handicap parking is very important to me, the proper use of it.
Did you park in a handicap space
No.
on May the 2nd?
I did not.
And would you explain to this body why you believe that to be the case?
If we go all the way back, and I don't know the individual's name, he worked at the Warren County Sheriff's Department. When I found myself going to the county courthouse years ago on a regular basis, I asked the sheriff which spot was the handicap spot. And the deputy, he laughed at me and he pointed at the one that had a handicap
The painting on the
the
ground?
painting on the ground. And I said, I just wanted to make sure. In addition to that, there is white paint there. There's clearly yellow paint underneath it. I believe that would indicate that the sign would go with the handicap painting that is on the ground, and the yellow paint was removed if that was in fact ever a handicap space or just no parking.
And are you familiar with the Bowling Green Code of Ordinances in general?
Yes.
Is there anything in the Bowling Green Code of Ordinances that says we're going to place a sign and not paint on the ground or vice versa? Is there anything, to your knowledge, that's in the local law of Bowling Green, Kentucky that says how this is supposed to be marked?
I don't believe so.
So, to the best of your knowledge, you did not park in a handicap spot?
No.
And you took some of the photos. Did you take this photo? This is from
I believe.
body cam.
Yeah, I
Now,
didn't take this one.
So, so I guess there is body cam. May I point of order and ask the officer if there's body cam? There was? It was represented to me on Friday by the city attorney that there was no body cam. Did the city attorney call you and ask about that?
Somebody with the city had asked if there was body cam, and I did inform them. I can't advise what day or who it was, but I did tell them there was body cam of the incident.
I asked about it on Friday and was told there was none. So that would be wrong, correct?
Correct.
Simpson? These are stills from the body cam. I do have the DVD of the body cam itself.
The DVD, let's wing it and see what happens. You okay with that? And I just will tell this body, I don't appreciate being told one thing and it turning out to be the other. Y'all had nothing to do with that.
He can't really get in,
I know, but
that's
it's
not,
pretty unbelievable.
Mr. Davenport, I can show this without an open records request. That would be fair to say. I'm not sure if it discloses who the complainant is on the call itself.
was the body cam activated that early?
I believe there's an interaction between the complainant and the officer during the footage, if that's correct. So
That's correct.
And has the body cam been made a part of, it's not in the board's records at this point, right?
there's no, well, neither is the video that they submitted. We don't have any way of submitting any sort of video in their packets. It's just photographs and written correspondence.
I'm, you know, if there's a concern, and I realize that sometimes things have to be redacted, but I think at this point, I'm going to ask this hearing be adjourned and that I be provided this body cam, because I can read you the text messages from the city attorney telling me on Friday, because I asked for it, and then I was getting ready to ask Mr. Broderick, Mr. Davenport's partner, to adjourn this or to continue this hearing until I could get it. And then I was specifically told, there's no body cam, so there's no need to delay the hearing. And now I get here today and I find out there's body cam. That concerns me.
Can I ask a question? Maybe it's not a good question, but I'll ask it anyway. What does the body cam you think might show that we haven't already seen by the pictures and everything? I'm truly trying to figure out what's the relevance of the body cam.
I don't know without having seen it, which is the obvious answer from an attorney. But I believe that the placard on the ground is visible. And I think if we can see the different angles that the officer saw that day,
But the green car parked on, you're talking about the painting under that green car?
I don't know. I mean, it's, I haven't seen the body cam. But I was going to ask that this hearing be continued until I could see the body cam, and then I could tell you the exact time on Friday when I was told that none existed. And maybe the city attorney was misinformed, but I was certainly misinformed.
Well, I'll give you my 2 cents here, and you can do whatever you want to do. You could always adjourn a hearing if you want to. That's up to you. That's, you know, you handle your agenda and your docket the way you want to handle your agenda. To me, as your attorney, it would be more concerning if the video body cam was something that the officer or someone else was relying upon here today to prove their case, and it was a request that Mr. Simpson had made Friday or whenever that wasn't accommodated. That would be a greater concern to me. That being said, you know, that's up to you all how you handle this.
At 11:07.
And the other thing is the request was not made to your staff or to this board. This would, apparently what Mr. Simpson is talking about is a request that was made to the city attorney or her office sometime on Friday that has not been complied with. Again, I'm not involved with that. I'm sure he's telling you what transpired on Friday. What Brad asked is whether we're following an open records procedure by handing something over, and Brad, I don't know the answer to that, you know, frankly. But again, if the board was considering the video, it would be more concerning to me, but you all do with it as you see fit. This is my advice to you.
Just for the record, at about 10:15, 10:30, sometime on Friday morning, I contacted the city attorney's office, and I said, I need to get any body cam. I assumed that there was body cam, and was told I'd have to do an open records request, and they couldn't put it in front of other ones, and because it is body cam, they're normally redacted. A lot of license plates and some things are fuzzed out, blurred, whatever. And I said, well, I'll call Mr. Broderick, who is normally here, and say, I'd like to adjourn the hearing so I can make an open records request, because the last video I requested took about 2 weeks to get because of the blurring that takes place. So at 11:07, City attorney texts myself and Mr. Broderick and says, no body cam footage to request, so no need to postpone. And because of another situation, I said, another violation of city policy, and the answer was, no, Alan, there's nothing in the policy that requires body cam footage to be turned on for parking violations. And she goes on to say some other things to me. So the officer just testified there's no body cam, and lo and behold, there's body cam, the Axon body
Are
cam.
you making the request, Alan, to adjourn?
I'm making a request to
Okay.
adjourn the
I
hearing.
think it's proper for y'all to deal with that now and decide how you're going to go forward before we do anything else.
And can I ask this question? If we move to let them have body cam and we table this till next meeting per se, are we able to, as a board, be able to watch the body cam as well prior to next meeting? Like we come to the office and be able to see it, so that way everybody, since we've had.
I think it would be my advice to you, Chair Dearborn, that whatever you review should happen in your meeting.
Okay, so if we.
So
if
there's
we
a
did,
clear
we could watch
record
it
of
next
who
time.
watched what.
Okay.
And there's no question,
Okay.
that would be my advice.
But we'd be able to watch it next meeting per se.
Could.
Okay. Okay.
If anyone wanted to present it, Mr. Simpson's not obligated to play anything.
I want to see it and I want to be very candid with the board. I may look at it and say, well, there's nothing here to see, so to speak. I just don't know. And I think it's incumbent upon me to find out.
I don't see an issue with putting this off to next month, so I'll go ahead and move to do that.
Are you making a formal motion?
And may I interrupt? And I need to take a moment to step out and talk to Mr. Nash about something. I may have another motion to make, and I need to make sure that that is what we want to do. If I may have a 5-minute recess.
Up to you all.
They have a problem with the 5-minute recess? All right, we will take a 5-minute recess. Yeah. Do this before, so I'm gonna. Yeah.
I didn't know. I just want to make sure we're back on the record. After consulting with Mr. Nash, a comment that Mr. Holman made, and I've known Mr. Holman almost my whole life, I guess, since probably junior high, is the concern that Mr. Holman has already made his mind up before we ever got to call a witness. Had this happened one other time in the Code Enforcement Board years ago, I will tell this body that Judge Wilson in part reversed that decision based upon the fact that, I won't name the gentleman's name, God rest his soul, but we had this reverse for that very reason. So when someone, this would be like a juror standing up and saying, I think they're guilty already. And so I think the world of Mr. Holman, but I think procedurally, if this citation is upheld and it's appealed to the district court, I can't complain about that later. So I explained that to Mr. Nash, and he's asked that I move for recusal or disqualification of Mr. Holman from this decision.
Probably a good time to hear my thoughts on that. Mr. Simpson invited a motion. He didn't really get the motion he was inviting. All that is to say is that I think the record's clear. He was suggesting to this board that there was not sufficient basis to move forward at that point. It's hard to imagine how you can make that motion without asking this board to give some thought on whether there's been a sufficient basis. That's exactly what he was asking for y'all to consider. Mr. Holman's motion, likely his argument is you gave voice to what you thought about that question. But frankly, I think that was invited. And whether that's wrong, down the road, somebody may ask a district court or someone. We don't know how this hearing is going to turn out. But without knowing the authority that Mr. Simpson is referring to, in my opinion, the context here is there was a request for a motion. And I don't know if really the appellate can complain when you make that request. So.
Probably Mr. Harmon was the city attorney when that happened, and it was the Bogle Hall mess over on Russell Road. So, just for some,
I decline comment.
It would be my opinion that a recusal is not required under the law, Mr. Holman. That's what I'm suggesting to you. And Alan tells me I'm wrong all the time. Sometimes he's even right. I don't think I'm wrong this time, though.
So do I stand on, we have a motion to table? Is that still the motion that's on the floor? Am I correct on
I
that?
do not believe there's been a second to that
Okay,
motion yet.
but, okay, so,
my thought was before you table this for now and come back next month, is that I would request a vote on my request about the disqualification of Mr. Holman. And
I think that's subject to a vote. I think that's Mr. Holman's
okay,
decision.
fair enough.
so, I'll go ahead and second the motion to table this until next month. So, Harmon and Dearborn, roll call?
Earbone,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Holman.
Yes.
All right, so we will revisit this next month. Hopefully you will have had a chance to review the body cam footage by then, and we will go from there, so.
We'll make that open records request. Well, it'll be tomorrow morning, according to my clock, but we'll do that right. I didn't request it Friday because I was told it didn't exist, so, but we'll do that tomorrow. When is the meeting next month? If anyone knows.
June 25th.
Thank you. Same time? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Agenda item 2024-23 is an appeal for code compliance. Case number 2024-3756, citation number 2024-6245.3. Citation fine being $105.04 with a mowing fee of $65 for the property located at 523 Church Avenue. The owner and respondent is Charles Hardcastle. Mr. Hardcastle is not present this afternoon. Right. There's no need to have her testify since
Go ahead and testify.
no.
No,
The citation of fine will stand since it's a no-show.
my bad, I'm sorry. I thought you said the officer was still here, so my bad. That's fine. Moving on to our next case, Madam Clerk.
Under old business, agenda item 2024-24 is a former appeal for code compliance. We tabled the case last month to rehear it this month. The case number is 2024-0572, citation number 2024-1084-10 for the property located at 223 Woodford Avenue. The owner is Joe W. Carter and Barbara A. Lowe. The respondent is their grandson, Joe Carter, and Officer McKenna will present the case.
This case was a result of a proactive inspection that was conducted on January 30th of this year. Citations were issued on March 28th and April the 10th. The second citation that was issued on April the 10th was appealed and was heard before the board at the April 22nd hearing. The board decided to table a decision on the case, allowing the property owner 5 days to bring the property into compliance. On April 30th, the property was inspected and was found to be in compliance, and the case was closed that day. As of today, the property remains in compliance.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Carter, did you have anything to say? Okay.
Thank you for getting in compliance. We appreciate that. If you come up to the microphone, please. And I'll swear you in. If you'll swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, and state your name for me, please. Okay, and you can go ahead with your thoughts.
You know, it's just him being older in age, and other than that, and having to pay a few people is what the slowness of getting the property back up. We complied with everything. We'd appreciate it if the fee was completely taken out. That, and it was almost like we got like almost 20 pieces of letter mail. It's almost kind of like a little much. Makes his blood pressure go up.
I'll make a motion to uphold the citation but dismiss the fine.
Second. Holman Dearbone. Roll call.
Dearbone,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Holman.
Yes?
So the citation stands, but the fine has been dismissed.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Under new business, agenda item 2024-25 is for code compliance. This is a request for authorization to issue a per-day fine citation, case number 2024-0164 for the property located at 1557 North Sunrise Drive. Owner Jessica Haynes. Officer McKenna Tabor will present the case.
This case was also the result of a proactive inspection that was conducted on January 9th of this year. During the initial inspection, the following violation was observed for improper parking. A courtesy letter was sent to the PVA listed owner and address on that date requesting that the vehicles in question be moved within 5 days. On January 22nd, 2024, the property was re-inspected and remained in violation. A door tag was posted requesting that the vehicle be removed from the yard. A notice of violation was mailed to the PVA listed owner and address with the compliance re-inspection date of January 29th, 2024. On February 7th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. 2 door tags were left that day. One was placed on the front door of the residence, and one was left on the vehicle in violation, requesting that the property owner remove the vehicle from the grass. Research was conducted to try to attempt to find contact information for the property owner, but was unsuccessful in yielding any kind of results. On February 16th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. Another door tag was posted requesting that the vehicle be moved or to contact our office. On February 26th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. On that day, a note was observed on the door from the property owner requesting that our office cease leaving door tags and stating that the vehicle has been parked on the grass since 2019, is working on being fixed, and is not hurting anyone. On March the 4th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. A citation was issued and posted on the property, as well as sent by first class and certified mail to the PVA listed owner. The re-inspection date listed on the citation was March 14th, 2024. On March 15th, 2024, the property was inspected and remained in violation. There were 2 vehicles parked in the grass at the time of that inspection. On March 18th, the property was inspected and remained in violation. A citation was issued and posted on the property, as well as sent by first class and certified mail to the PVA listed owner. The re-inspection date listed on the citation was March 28, 2024, and the following violation for an unlicensed inoperable motor vehicle was added. On April 2nd, the property was inspected and remained in violation. A citation was issued and posted on the property, as well as sent by first class and certified mail to the PVA listed owner. The re-inspection date listed on the citation was April the 12th of 2024. On April 17th, May 13th, and May 22nd, the property was inspected and remained in violation. As of today, this case has been open for 139 days, and the property remains in violation. We've exhausted all attempts at communication and voluntary compliance with the property owner.
I'll make a motion to implement a per-day fine in the amount of $100 to run for a period of 60 days or until in compliance.
I'll second it.
Dearborn, Harmon, roll call.
Earbone,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Holman.
Yes.
Agenda item 2024-26 is for code compliance. This is a request for authorization to issue a per-day fine citation, case number 2023-3412, for the property located at 1367 Clay Street. The owner is Relentless Holdings, LLC. The officer in charge of the case is Sandra Duderick. She is not available, so Officer Brad Shagaratsky will present the case.
This case is the result of a complaint received by our office on June 8th of 2023 for a roach infestation in apartments A8 and D6. A notice of violation and infestation letter were sent to the PVA listed owner and address on that date with a listed date of June 22nd of last year for a receipt of inspection report by a licensed pest control company. Citations were then issued on August 29th, September 7th, and September 27th of last year. The case was then presented to the board at the October 2023 hearing requesting authorization to issue a per-day fine citation, which was approved. On the screen, you'll see the first citation was issued on August 29th of last year with a compliance date of the 8th of September. And violations on that were exterior use or storage of indoor furniture, tires, scattered garbage, accumulation of trash, roach infestation. The second citation, which was issued on the 13th of September with a compliance date of the 25th of September, was for damaged kitchen and bedroom floors, kitchen receptacle not maintained in good working order, junk appliances, in addition to the other violations on the first citation. And the third citation was on the 27th of September with a compliance date of the 9th of October of last year with all of the same violations from the first two citations. There were multiple phone and text contacts with the owner during the period between those citations and it coming before the board on the October 2023 hearing. The board did approve the per-day fine citation, and a letter was mailed to the PVA listed owner and address on the 26th of October, informing them that they had 10 days before a per-day fine citation would be issued. There was no response or correction to the violations. The property remained in violation on the 7th of November, at which time Officer Duderick issued the per-day fine citation. It was posted on the property as well as mailed by first class and certified mail, as you see in the picture there in front of you now. On the 3rd of January of this year, our office then received information that there were no utilities connected to two apartments, apartments C2 and D8. And that tenants in both of those apartments were burning things in the apartments in order to stay warm. The tenants were given 24 hours to reconnect utilities or the apartments would be condemned. On the following date, the two units were condemned due to no utilities and unsafe living conditions. 2 days later, on the 5th of January, our office was again contacted regarding no utilities in apartment C3. Staff responded and discovered that it was only the stove and shower that were not working, but the heat was operable and it did have utilities. Since then, there have been ongoing multiple phone and text contacts with maintenance throughout January regarding electrical issues in Building E and water and plumbing issues in multiple units in the complex. Our office then corresponded with multiple phone and text contacts in February regarding pest control, trash, and ongoing electrical issues. We also continued to receive additional complaints about multiple units in the apartment complex, including new complaints about apartments C4 and A6. Officer Duderick met with maintenance and continued to communicate on an ongoing basis throughout March and April to remedy multiple violations in multiple units and on the exterior of the property. On your screen, you'll see an inspection that was conducted on the 15th of February, where there are unsanitary conditions, trash piled up around the dumpster, furniture, etc. Here's an inspection from April 1st. Again, same dumpster area with tires, furniture, unsanitary conditions. This is from an interior inspection conducted earlier this month from multiple apartments regarding plumbing, electrical, fire safety, And issues with the kitchen, you see here, obviously a circuit panel that has no cover and is in violation of code. No way to work the sink, lights hanging down, light fixtures hanging down from the ceiling. No plumbing at all under the sink there that would connect the sink to the waste line with a P-trap. And in the picture on the right is the stove burner is turned on high. It says burner on, but none of the burners are working. Those pictures, the interior pictures, were taken due to additional complaints in apartment C5 and B4, which in addition to the electrical, plumbing, and kitchen problems, there were also no working smoke alarms and a roach infestation in those apartments as well. All possible attempts have been exhausted to work with the property owner and maintenance to bring the property into compliance, and as of today, the case has been open for 354 days and remains in violation. We continue to receive multiple ongoing complaints from various parties, including tenants and caseworkers from different public agencies when they go to do site visits with tenants of these apartments. Some of the violations that remain in, some of the I guess codes that remain in violation as of now are roach infestation, kitchen receptacles, units C2 and C8 being condemned as unfit for human habitation, damaged kitchen in E6 and damaged bedroom floors, broken windows in apartment C2, smoke alarms not operable in B4, kitchen sink in apartment C5, light fixtures in bathroom in C5, and missing stove burners in C3 and B4. Our request is for authorization to issue a second per-day fine citation.
I'll make a motion to implement a per-day fine, the amount of $100 to run for a period of 60 days or until in compliance.
Second.
Harmon, Holman, roll call.
Earbone,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Holman.
Yes?
All right. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, June 25th. I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, Dearbone, Harmon, roll call.
Earbone,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Holman.
Yes?
We are adjourned.